Winter meetings day one in the books, and so much news, guys. Just so much pouring out of Orlando. So many signings, so many trades. Now, quiet day one in Orlando for the MLB Winter Meetings, but that doesn't mean there isn't a lot to talk about. As always, welcome in Chatterbox Reds. I'm Craig Sandlin, joined by Mike Hart and Nick Kirby. Gentlemen, happy Monday. Happy day one of the Winter Meetings. How are we doing tonight?
Hoping for some better news, or at least any news. There was, I think Mike Soroka was all we got. So, but happy to be talking Reds baseball. Hopefully we can be on the air when something crazy happens.
You never know. It's happened before. We've been on the air and something crazy's happened. So no, first time I've done a live show. You know, you guys did one last week. First time I've done a live show in a little bit. So excited to be on here talking some Reds baseball. Let's go.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time of year as always. And Reds didn't waste any time. They made their first major move before we even got to Orlando, gentlemen. We did a show talking about it, so we don't need to spend forever on it tonight, but do want to make sure that we mention, obviously, the Reds and Emilio Pagán in agreement on a 2-year, $20 million contract, or I guess it's a 1-year contract with a player option for a second year is the way it was formatted. But nonetheless, the Reds needed bullpen help, needed a closer, and got their man in Emilio Pagán and got it locked up before they ever got to Orlando.
Yeah, I was kind of glad I didn't have to do that live show. It was like I just didn't really have a strong opinion on it, to be honest. It's kind of one of those things like, okay, yeah, like it's a fine deal. It's not something like I think is like, oh, wow, that's great. And it's a deal you kind of need to see how the rest of the offseason plays out before you really, I think, you know, are too hell-bent one way or the other. Even still, I don't really know if you really should be all that hell-bent one way or the other. He was obviously really good for the Reds in 2025, really saved that team after Alexis Diaz fell off the face of the earth. So it certainly is worth that amount of money. You know, for the Reds, it's just the tough balancing act of where do you spend your resources. And we've talked many times about how I don't think the Reds should be putting all their eggs in the basket for their bullpen, but this isn't really that many in the basket also. So we just see kind of how they complement Pagán in that bullpen, but certainly I think the biggest thing is that was a move that Tito really wanted. I don't think Tito wanted to go into 2026 with a whole bunch of question marks in the bullpen. He wanted someone that he felt really good about, and I don't really blame Tito for that. That's kind of been something that's always been very important to him.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, we talked about it on the show, or actually, I guess it was with Andrew, wasn't it? Gosh, I didn't even remember. Andrew Collinsworth joined us. I know, I know. And it's not often you get to do a show with Anthony Kiedis, so I can't believe I forgot about that. But yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the show, right? I mean, the Reds really went into this with an option of, okay, we re-sign Emilio Pagán. Do we rock and roll with Tony Santillan as the closer option going into 2026 or somebody else? And ultimately, as Nick mentioned, Emilio Pagán, someone that clearly Terry Francona took a liking to throughout the season, picked up a slack that was dropped by Alexis Diaz, and gave him some, for the most part, some reliable bullpen outings, some high pressure innings. And obviously we all remember the outing against the Blue Jays that did not go the way we wanted it to. But as we talked about on the show, when the signing happened, he also gave the Reds 4 straight significant outings at the end of the season that really helped finalize that playoff push. So Mike, any thoughts on Pagán before we move on?
No, I agree with all that. It seems that Tito really figured out a good way to use him as well. I know he's been around forever, but you know, when you're coming into a bunch of new players, I think there's definitely some feeling out period when it comes to that. And I feel pretty comfortable on how he's going to use Santillan and Pagán, probably maybe even doing a full closer by committee to make sure that they're both fresh into the year, because he did notice and has commented that he overworked those guys.
Yeah. All of that is true. And certainly we talked about, we'll talk tonight about some of the comments that Terry Francona and Nick Kroll and others made at day one of the winter meetings today. Apologize to those that are watching. Mike's, I don't know if his internet was messing up there or his camera or what. He's going to drop and rejoin maybe or whatever. But maybe for Christmas, Nick, we can get Mike some new internet, maybe some 1G internet or 2 gig internet, or I don't know. Maybe you have a different idea for a Christmas gift that Mike might enjoy.
I don't know. I have like the highest internet and it's still sketchy. So, you know what? If I'm going to put my hard-earned money on anything, Craig, it's going on Omaha Steaks. I know I'm always struggling to find gifts this time of the year. I'm sure you are too, especially for, like Pops and your brother and your friends. Nothing better than an Omaha Steaks package. I just got one actually last week. Fired up some burgers.
Let me guess, some jumbo franks, some burgers, some apple tartlets.
The apple tartlets I'm saving. I'm waiting for the special night to fire up the apple tartlets. But holiday magic made easy, Craig, with Omaha Steaks. You can place orders by 6 p.m. and they ship the same day. And right now, during their Sizzle All the Way sale, you can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $35 off with promo code Chatterbox at checkout. The steaks are incredible. Love the gourmet hot dogs, the apple tartlets. My personal favorite package is the festive gift plus free burgers package. Check that one out. So again, save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And then for an extra $35 off on top of that, use promo code Chatterbox at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. It's omahasteaks.com, code Chatterbox.
Absolutely. Make sure you stick around. We're going to talk about Spencer Steer and Matt McLean looking for bounce-back seasons in 2026. Talk about Sal Stewart and his role for 2026 as well. We'll talk about Elly De La Cruz and his playing time in 2025 and what the plans are for 2026. Maybe some discussion around Hunter Greene and what might happen around his role. And then obviously the Rule 5 draft takes place during these winter meetings. So we'll touch on that. But before we get to all of those, the topic that everybody wants to talk about, Nick and Mike, that is Kyle Schwarber, the Hamilton boy, obviously is a hot topic for this winter meetings. A number of reports, interestingly enough, that are coming out that think that he'll be the first domino to fall. And I'm not 100% sure why that is. Maybe it's because it's such a given where he's going that it just is going to be able to be closed up quickly. Maybe that works out in the Reds' favor. Maybe that's because he's going back to the Phillies. Maybe it's just because there's not as much competition for high-end DHs. And maybe it's just because he's Kyle Schwarber and he hit 56 home runs last year and en route to a runner-up MVP campaign. Who can really blame him to losing to Shohei Ohtani? But nonetheless, Kyle Schwarber is the story of Orlando this week, and not just amongst Reds fans. He's the top story amongst many fan bases. News breaking a couple of days ago, the Pittsburgh Pirates, I guess this broke on Sunday, Pittsburgh Pirates have officially made an offer to Kyle Schwarber, believed to be 4 years, well north of $100 million for the length of the contract. I have my thoughts on this, but I'm going to let you guys give your thoughts first. Mike, I'll let you start. How realistic is it that the Pirates are even a fragment, a speck of sand in Kyle Schwarber's mind right now?
Well, I think his agent is perfectly fine with getting a deal like that because that is your absolute floor now. It feels like, well, I guess maybe not specifically, because I would imagine, unlike the Reds, where they may not need to be the highest amount of money in order to officially get Kyle Schwarber, I think the Pirates would have to significantly overpay for him. I think they would need to come in way above what anyone else is offering for him to select that, because I don't think a 32-year-old Kyle Schwarber is trying to go to a rebuilding team that is just spending this money and then is going to have nothing offensively around him. So I think it's pretty minimal that he would pick the Pirates. They would have to significantly overpay over what everyone else is offering him.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense that the Pirates are interested. I just think Schwarber is such a unique fit for a team like the Reds and the Pirates. Two teams that desperately need offense, a absolute superstar hitter that isn't requiring 8 or 9 years. That's what makes him so unique and what makes him more attractive to smaller market teams than a lot of the guys that are looking for those massive contracts that they're just not going to give out. So I agree with Mike. I think they would have to drastically overpay. Now, the Pirates, if they are actually going to move Mitch Keller, I mean, he's making $15 million a year. So that's a big chunk of that right there that they can do. And the Pirates clearly have the pitching to probably survive moving Mitch Keller. So I wouldn't necessarily say like financially they don't have any chance. I honestly think they might have the ability to honestly outspend the Reds on the Schwarber portion of the deal. And they could do that and still have a payroll less than the Reds at the end of the day.
Who's leaking this information, do you think? Because I think there's plenty of conversation that could be had about why this information is getting out. And typically it's released for a reason, but it could be released by multiple people for that similar reason. So I'll ask you, Mike, who's releasing this information that the Pirates have offered 4 years, $100 million?
My theory is that it's the Pirates. I think just in the same way that they were claiming to be in on the Josh Naylor signing, and then it turned out that they weren't in at all. I do think they probably did make this offer, but I think the Pirates owner wants it well known as like, hey, I'm trying to spend money here because you think the Reds fans are angry about ownership not spending money. The Pittsburgh Pirate fans are, on a different level of just like, get this guy out of here. So, I see how this potentially benefits Schwarber in adding leverage, but I think it's the Pirates making it known here is like, hey, look at what we're trying to do. So even if we get to the end of the offseason and they haven't signed anybody, they can at least turn to their fans and say, hey, we tried.
I think normally it probably is the agent leaking the majority of it or that side, but I agree with Mike. I think in this case, especially if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates and you offered any contract with a nice round $100 million, you can't leak that fast enough, right? I mean, you want that thrown out there the second you do it. So, I agree with Mike on that. I think primarily it probably is more on that. There was a report earlier tonight. It did not hit our threshold for the Chatterbox social media for us to post it. But since we're all just friends here talking on YouTube to no one, I'll go ahead and mention it. So again, I said this with a grain of salt. It did not meet our threshold. This is a young reporter up and coming, has 9,000 followers on Twitter. But he says growing expectation that Schwarber could fall in Orlando. Reds are serious. Told they'd be close or above $30 million AAV in the 5-year range. So that's more than the Pirates. I don't know if that report is legit. Would the Phillies actually beat that? Because we think they would have to significantly beat that, right?
Do they? That's what we don't know, right? I think that's the biggest question is, like, obviously Schwarber's a hometown kid. There's a lot of smoke that maybe he wants to come home. But, like, I just don't know how much it really plays into everything. And we may never know.
Yes, it does. Get out of here with that. He wants to play in Cincinnati. That dude is begging the Cincinnati Reds to make him a competitive offer. Begging.
We could, I mean, listen, if that's the case, the deal should be done tomorrow. Like, there's zero reason it should have even gotten to this point. If Kyle Schwarber legitimately wanted to play for the Reds and he went to Cincinnati and said, here's what I need, and if you give it to me, I'm signing with it right now. I'm not taking it to the Phillies. I'm not going to combat it. I'm looking for 5 years, $31 million a year. If the Reds didn't sign that immediately, then we have bigger issues. Because if Kyle Schwarber comes to you and says, look, I want to play for you, I'm willing to come for you, make it happen, the Reds would do that. Like, how could they not? They have to.
I think there's a legit.
But the thing about it is that while I want to believe it, right? Like at the end of the day, these are smart people. His agent is smart. He's smart. Like these are smart people. They know how to maximize their contracts. And if that means that he has to play up this game that, hey, I want to go play in Cincinnati, then 100% they're going to play that up as much as they can. You think he just like casually went to Middletown for whatever event it was 2 weeks ago and like just casually happened to be available for the media to talk about Cincinnati and being home and all of these things? Like it's legit. It's one of two things. He either 100% wants to be in Cincinnati, and the fact that Nick Krall hasn't gotten it done yet is a shame, or it's all a ruse and he's going to end up in Philadelphia.
I think that there is a level of if the Reds were able to do it, I think there's genuine, they would need to actually go out and I don't know, for lack of a better term, raise more money for it. I think that we've already seen, right? They said, hey, there's going to be $15-20 million to spend this year, which in and of itself wouldn't even cover Schwarber. Then they just gave $10 million to Pagán. So, if they wanted to be able to add something, we're going to need to blow past that number that was originally thrown out. And maybe they weren't prepared to do it, but because of the, all of the overtures that Kyle Schwarber has been giving to the Reds, they're willing to try to do that. The Castellinis are only one bit of a large ownership group that would need to raise the quote or be able to provide the funds. I guess I don't know specifically how that would work, but to, be able to give out a contract like this. So while you're right, Craig, this is exactly how you would act if you're trying to gin up a higher price from the Phillies by saying, look, I might go to the Reds. This is also how you would act if you genuinely want to play for the Reds. If you genuinely are like, I want to play for my hometown team, you put as much pressure as you possibly can in the local media and just like around in baseball to let them know. It's like, hey, I am really serious here. So,
what do you need pressure for?
What do you need? And
this is the biggest issue with the Cincinnati Reds. If you have to pressure the Cincinnati Reds in the Castellini group to sign you as the hometown hero who hit 56 home runs last year, who was number 2 in the MVP voting for a team who desperately needs power and has a hitter-friendly ballpark. If you have to pressure them, then why would you want to play for him anyway?
That's just the reality of what you would have to do for this, this ownership group. You're going to have to say, hey, you're going to have to go past your cap. What you've set for yourself, you're going to have to go past it. And hopefully, he doesn't
want to play for Cincinnati that much.
Well, I disagree. I think that him continuing to do this is somebody that is trying to pull every lever that he can to make a deal happen. Now, is it going to happen? I still don't know. I still am, I'm not overly sold that it necessarily will. There is a lot of smoke, but all I'm saying is that for somebody that, is completely somebody who would really want to play here would act in a similar way, in my opinion.
Nick, I saw the classic Kirby smirk over there, so I'll let you chime in here.
I just think he absolutely wants to play here. I think you have absolutely no heart, Craig, if you don't believe that. Like, I'm disgusted at you if you can't even buy that notion. Like, come on, Craig. What are you doing here? Like, do you even like sports? Like come on, man. He clearly wants to play here.
Here's what I'll say is that I think the problem is that I've been jaded by professional sports and by the changing collegiate landscape and by all of these things, that the only thing that seems to care that these athletes seem to care about 99.9% of the time is money. And while it would be amazing that if Kyle Schwarber actually wanted to play for his hometown team and actually wanted to give them a legitimate shot to sign him, that would be fantastic. But I also know what happens behind the scenes in terms of how the game is played. And so this is not me sitting here acting like I don't think that he wants to play here, or one thing or another. But the truth of the matter is that at this point in the game, until he signs, like, that's just going to be my mindset. My mindset is just going to be that it's all a game. And whoever just put in the chat that breaking news, Schwarber's to the Mets, there's absolutely nothing out there. So Chad, if you're out there looking for it, Kirby, if you're looking for it, there's nothing out there right now saying Schwarber to the Mets. So we can ignore that guy for the rest of the show.
There's zero chance that Schwarber is signing with the Mets this early. Like,
correct.
Like it would either be the Reds or the Phillies. It would not be the Mets. It would not be the Pirates. It would not be those. Those are the only two teams he's going to side with, I think, right off the rip. Anyone else is going to, like, the Met. I think the Mets would have to, like, pay so much for him that I just think it wouldn't even make sense for them at that point. But here's my biggest point on this is this. There's been so much made about the budget for the Reds and what they said. I do think there's a very real possibility, and I've heard a few things that make me believe this is a reality, that the Reds budget gets increased with Kyle Schwarber, because Kyle Schwarber is going to sell more tickets. Like, the entire interest of the Reds, like, Kyle Schwarber is going to sell more FanDuel Sports Network subscriptions. He's going to sell tickets, going to sell merchandise. Like, unlike any other $120 million free agent. That's like kind of the crazy thing here, is that whoever the equivalent, like if the Reds went out and signed Alex Bregman, like, he might actually be a better overall player than Schwarber with, the defense and everything else, but he's not nearly going to have the impact on a small market team like the Reds in terms of their interest. And so I do think that there's a possibility the Reds said, hey, this is our number, but Schwarber can increase it some. Now, does he increase it for the whole tenure of the contract? Probably not. And so what could happen here is that Schwarber could make the Reds increase their budget in 2026 because they're going to expect and bank on more money coming in. But if things go south in 2026, you could be risking a lot here, where you go to 2027 and you have to start selling off pieces to basically pay for that to fit whatever the budget is. So I do think that's another possibility of how this could have to be puzzled together. Is I think the payroll being increased in 2026 is actually a real possibility, but you might be risking more of having to trade really desirable contracts down the line in players in higher arbitration towards the end of their arbitration to be able to finance the end of the Schwarber deal.
Here's one thing that I think is, if there is any legitimacy to Cincinnati being in the running and Schwarber potentially wanting to go to Cincinnati, I shared it with our chat earlier today. There was an article out of Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Inquirer, Scott Lauber. The article is, what if Kyle Schwarber signs with the Reds? Here's what the Phillies' backup plan might look like. And this is how the article starts. It says, these things could all wind up being true. Kyle Schwarber wants to re-sign with the Phillies. The Phillies offer Schwarber the most money over 4 years and maybe even wince and agree to a fifth. Kyle Schwarber signs with the Reds. So even Philadelphia media at this point is almost like planting the seed that Kyle Schwarber may not be a Philly next year. Now, the conversation then is, okay, well, it's possible, and it goes back to that unsubstantiated report that you brought up earlier, Nick, that the Phillies may begin starting to try and turn over other stones because they may be preparing for Schwarber not coming back. Those are the types of reports that actually start to, like, make me think maybe there's hope. I'll be completely transparent. Those are the types of things that give me hope. Just hearing that the Reds are interested and that there's mutual interest from Kyle Schwarber does not give me hope. Hearing that the Phillies are preparing to not have him, those are the types of things that potentially give me hope that he may actually be back.
See, that's funny, because it's funny how you can read reports differently, because I almost read that as an agent planning something, the Phillies saying, hey, we don't need you, like trying to play it back with the agent.
Yep. It's all a game, man. Every single thing that happens is a game. Until a contract is announced, it's a game.
Yeah. Do we all agree on this? I have a hard time believing that the Reds would let it get this far if they were not going to make a sizable effort at this. I just cannot believe they would be that stupid to let this get this far, because they could put a squash to it in 2 seconds, right? By leaking the right thing or the wrong thing, I guess, from my perspective. I just don't think that they're going to let it get this far without really going to make a sizable push here. Now, again, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I do think that there is going to be a real legitimate offer to Schwarber, and it will be a take it or leave it type thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Sorry, real quick. We do have like somewhat breaking news, I guess. I don't know if it's breaking or not, but
dun.
The Reds among teams with interest in Jake Meyers. First time I think that the Reds have formally been.
I mentioned him before.
I think the first time formally mentioned by a report that they're actually interested in Jake Meyers. So throwing that out there, Brian Taggart of MLB.com is reporting that the Reds, Royals, Dodgers, and White Sox amongst clubs that have shown interest in the center fielder.
I think he's got nice platoon splits.
Yeah, but back to Schwarber, we can talk about Jake Meyers in a little bit if we really want to. But if we're being honest, the thing that sells right now is Kyle Schwarber. So we'll stick with Kyle Schwarber for a couple more minutes. And Terry Francona and Nick Krall both were asked today about Kyle Schwarber. As you can imagine, I don't. He's a free agent, so I think technically anybody can talk about him. But at the end of the day, a lot of beating around the bush, I guess. Terry Francona said, oops, wrong article, said, I think the best way to address that question is I'm probably not on an island when I say he's a really good player and he's a really good kid and he's got a great reputation. Other than that, I'd like to leave it to him to speak about whatever he wants, because I think that's the most respectful way to handle it. At the end of the day, look, there's no doubt that the Reds should and are interested in Schwarber. But the question becomes, what does it look like in order to actually get it done? And so I'll open it up to you two. Put yourself in Nick Krall's shoes. I don't think, Charlie Goldsmith put out an article earlier about the art of the sale is key for the Reds. I don't know that Kyle Schwarber is the right example for needing to be a good salesman, but put yourself in the shoes of Nick Krall and what you think is true about Kyle Schwarber, and tell me what you think a deal to get Kyle Schwarber in Cincinnati looks like when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I don't think it's a hard sell to join this playoff team that desperately needs your power in a power hitting ballpark that you grew up growing up. There's your sales pitch. That doesn't seem to me like that is too hard of a sell to Schwarber, besides the money. And I think really where I think that if this gets done, where I think it ends up going is in some deferred money. And I know the Reds have not normally been in on this, but the people that they have been in on are people like Ken Griffey Jr., which we've already talked about, has some very interesting parallels, bringing the hometown kid home to, great fanfare to help with, making a big splash with their team. So I think that the contract gets out to 4 years and probably overall adds up to around $30 million a year. But I would imagine that they're put enough deferrals in there or bring it out a little bit to make it manageable for this year, but also, like Nick mentioned, potentially for next year. We also need to, this is our obligatory mention of there's going to be potential lockout next after this season as well. And who knows what the heck is going to happen.
Might have to pay them at all.
Yeah. So, but they also don't get to sell any tickets. So, that's a whole nother show. But so I think that if the Reds do get it done, they, one, have exceeded their budget that they set out. Two, they do defer some money because that is how they're going to be able to get some relief to get up to or close to a Phillies or Mets number. And, I think they do give him the 4 years, maybe even a fifth year. If that's like what it's, I think that'd be something that they're willing to do.
Yeah, I think he's probably like 125 is probably what I think he's gonna want that 5th year. I think that's what I've been seeing a lot. And I think that kind of makes sense almost for the Reds, because they can lower the AAV down a little bit as well. And maybe if you lower the AAV down a little bit, you defer a little bit. That gets it done. I'm fascinated with the Jake Meyers, Will Benson platoon, though. I mean, I can't get my mind off that, to be honest.
I knew it. Of course. All right. Final thoughts on Kyle Schwarber, anything that you guys wanted to touch on that maybe we haven't touched on yet? Feels like we've touched on everything and we've touched on it 100 times, but I will open it up nonetheless that if there's anything else that you guys want to say. Someone mentioned in the chat, and Nick, I saw that you had a note on it too. Apologize if you mentioned it already, but Kyle Schwarber's agent, you want to fill us in on that connection there? Or was that...
I put that one in there. That was at the bottom of Charlie's chalkboard. Just kind of a nugget that Kyle Schwarber's agent, Casey Close, is a great friend of former Michigan teammate and Cincinnati Reds senior advisor, broadcaster Barry Larkin. So I don't know. Let's just add that to the tally of things of maybe that helps. Maybe, who knows? So I just thought that was a very interesting thing that we could point out. You can always count on Charlie with coming up with fun and interesting things like that.
All right, Nick, I'll let you live in your dreamland for a couple of minutes. Jake Meyers, obvious interest in potentially bringing the center fielder to Cincinnati. What's a package for him look like? What does he bring to the table? What do the fans need to know about Jake Meyers in case this is an actual thing that happens?
Yeah, I mean, Meyers is a really, really good defensive center fielder. Is like +9 outs above average. Not a great hitter overall, but has hit lefties really well throughout his career. Actually had the best season of his career in 2025. Had a nice 292 average. Only a 727 OPS. Not a ton of power, but would be a really good like right-handed outfield option, which is something the Reds need, especially, if you're losing Austin Hayes, you do kind of need that, and would give the Reds a lot of flexibility. I don't know how many more years of control he's got left. He's a free agent 2028, so Reds would get 2 years with him. Going to make a little bit of money in arbitration, so I have no idea what a package would look like for him. But if it's not something too crazy, I think he's kind of like the exact prototype that I would like. A good fielder, a right-handed bat that has pretty good platoon splits, and has some upside too, as well. So yeah, I would be all about Jake Meyers if the Reds could find a way to do it without breaking the prospect bank.
Yeah, it looks like last year he actually was a little bit below average against lefties. But in his career, he has the splits. And I think defense is something that, especially with what we saw with TJ Friedl out in center field, kind of begin to decline. We saw TJ obviously made some great leaping catches out there in center field, but his sprint speed has dramatically diminished. And I think that there is having somebody out there, maybe even a platoon with Friedl in center field, for somebody that can hit lefties, even if if Terry will do something like that to make sure that maybe protect TJ Friedl from lefties rather than bat him first. So I think there's potential interest there that I think I would be interested in as well. We'll see. I think the Astros have been reportedly saying they want pitching, so I'm not sure what that would be, whether it be prospects or it'd be big league players, maybe big league players that would be relieving some salary that you could give to some Middletown masher somewhere. So I'm not sure necessarily where that plays out, but yeah, it's definitely somebody intriguing that I would, with the right deal, would be completely open to.
I don't love the idea of doing this, but just in terms of something that could make sense. And I think the Reds would probably want to get a little bit more. I'd have to do a little bit deeper of a dive, but certainly if you were able to get Schwarber and you need to offload some money, I think Singer for Meyers in some sort of package could make a lot of sense for both teams. So that could possibly be something why this conversation has started. The Reds able to get a big league piece that does help them out in 2026 while also offloading some salary. Although I made a pretty known. Yes, it would be certainly would be an upgraded trade, basically Brady Singer for Kyle Schwarber and Jake Meyers. But at the same time, man, I'm definitely really concerned about losing your only starter that has proven that he can get through a 162 game season.
Just like Mike earlier said, it wouldn't be a Chatterbox Reds show without bringing up the potential lockout in 2027. I'll go ahead and bring up my topic of the summer, or of the winter, I guess, which is the winner of the 2025 La Gente del Barrio Home Run Derby, which is Noelvi Marte. And I know that you're enamored with this potential trade with Jake Meyers, but I'll just remind you both that you have a home run derby champion, someone who beat Vlad Guerrero Jr. in the championship of that home run derby, playing on your team already, under team control for very, very affordable rate, and a guy who showed a lot of promise defensively in the outfield last year, and certainly could bring some power to the lineup too. So,
you wanted to play center?
I'm on record that I think that he could be a center fielder. Yeah.
Nick, I think he just wants him to play center so he can arbitrarily boost his WAR totals so that he can look better at that. I think is really why he wants Marte to play center. But I'm fine. I think it's been pretty widely reported too that he's just like, hey, go learn right field and we're going to stick with you there. So maybe down the road, but I think he's going to be in right field next year there, Craig.
Yeah, I think my concern is more so about, I don't think TJ Friedel is your center fielder of the future. I know Nick is high on Benson potentially being in that role. I just don't think it's TJ Friedel. So I threw out Noelvi Marte. I'm perfectly fine with Marte staying in right field. I really am. But I do think that he gets overlooked a lot of times when we're talking about the future of the Cincinnati Reds outfield. And so I just, had to go out and do my little bit where I bring up Noelvi Marte as a piece in the outfield. So final thoughts on Jake Meyers? Anything else you want to bring up?
No, I'm all about it. The trade generator actually has it pretty close. As Singer, the last check was 10.7. What do they call that? Value, millions of value. Meyers was 8.9. So I don't know. Maybe Singer plus a reliever. Do they have a reliever with some upside? That could certainly make a lot of sense.
I'm sure they do. We'll take a second to recognize our presenting sponsor, Deep South Commodities. DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks as always to our friends at DSC. And we want to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health, whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between. It's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help where you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay. Also, I found it interesting during the conversation today with Terry Francona. He did a little segment on MLB Network, and one of the segments there was talking about Elly De La Cruz. And obviously that has been a hot topic and will continue to be a hot topic. Terry Francona has talked about it a lot this winter already, but spent some more time on it again today, and talked about his role in 2025 and the fact that he played in 162 games. And Terry had this to say, boys. There were a lot of things going on. I think I need to take responsibility, and I have, and I will. I need to find ways to get him off his feet from time to time, and I didn't do a very good job of that, and I own up to that. So he's already on the record that Elly De La Cruz is a shortstop, and he will remain a shortstop. But Elly De La Cruz insisted on playing 162 games last year, something that we're well on the record of saying was detrimental to his success in 2025. So I'll ask you, now that Terry said that again on MLB Network today, what your takeaway is and what your plan is for Elly De La Cruz in 2026 and beyond.
Accountability. Can you believe it? Well, Schwarber is going to be a problem because, not being able to get Elly as many DH at-bats. So you're going to have to probably give Elly some full days off.
I'm glad you said it and I didn't. I was going to have to bring that up. Didn't want to get tomatoes thrown at me. But I think that this is one of the things, maybe it was just like a goal of his to have, that now they could say, hey, we now have evidence that shows, wow, that was impressive that you were able to do that. I think that, we can all see that when you get the rest that you need, I know you want to play, but being able to get the rest that you need is going to help you perform better for this team down the home stretch near the end, which is good. So, I like to think another year of this, another year with Terry or Tito, sorry. There's there's a way that you can go about doing this where all people win, where it's just like, hey, we can afford to not have you here in the lineup all the time, and we can get the best out of you going down at the end of the season. So I think that there is a way for this to be, amicable and everybody wins here. So I like that, he's coming out and saying it now, and hopefully this is a non-story as we go through it, not a player continues to clash with manager because he wants to keep playing every day or something like that.
Just lay it out there. I mean, anytime you go 10 games without hitting a home run, you have to take a day off. I mean, you keep hitting home runs, you can play 162.
Wait a minute. I thought when you hit a home run is when you get benched. I thought that's how Terry managed.
That doesn't really work.
No, it's triples that almost win you the game. That could have been a home run, but you looked at him too long. That was it.
Okay.
Every time you hit one the other way into the gap.
Just make sure you don't stare at it too long after you hit it. Okay, Elly, don't turn to the bench and give your fours. Don't do any of that. Just run the bases, hit your home run, and get back to the dugout. Okay. It's funny though, because we did talk about this plenty, and we talked about it at the end of the season at the recap about how Terry Francona needs to manage Elly. He's 23 years old. The expectation shouldn't be that he knows how to be a professional baseball player on season 2.5. And so Francona was asked about how many games he expects De La Cruz to play in 2026. And he said, I don't think there's a number, but I also think that if you wait to a certain point, like I did last year, you wait too long. I'm not sure a day is going to do a whole lot of good in September. I think you have to be proactive, and I just need to explain to him better to make him understand. I just need to do a better job of managing that, and I will. So to your point, Nick, accountability, taking it on the chin that he is the manager, needs to own that, which is exactly what we called for. And ultimately, I don't think there's any question. Terry Francona believes in Elly De La Cruz and his potential. And I know a lot of fans question Elly De La Cruz's future. Obviously, we had it in our chat earlier today, asking from Andrew, said, what are your thoughts on the longevity of Elly De La Cruz playing shortstop with the amount of errors he makes year in and year out? Elly De La Cruz is going nowhere, and he's not moving away from shortstop. That's just the truth of the matter as it is right now. Elly De La Cruz is your shortstop for the foreseeable future. And Terry Francona went as far today as saying that if we can get a little bit more consistency out of him, he will and can be the best player in baseball. So there is a lot of expectations put on Elly De La Cruz. There have been for years. But Terry Francona knows how to manage these expectations, know how to manage players, and give them the confidence that they need in order to make them the best players that they possibly can. And, hopefully we'll put some more veteran leadership around him to continue to help him grow and turn into a professional shortstop, because it is one of those things where maturity and knowing how to handle the day-to-day is an important part of being a professional athlete. But I do believe that with Terry, Freddie Benavidez, and others, that they can do that for Elly De La Cruz.
Especially if he's injured, right? Especially if there's a nagging quad injury, right? You would think that it's just like, I think that was just going to be more of the discussion this year too. He's going to pick up a nick. He plays all out. He plays hard. He runs. He steals bases. Like, he's going to pick up a ding here or there. Maybe be willing to sit him a few days to help get that healthy, or maybe even, God forbid, an IL stint. I know we don't want to be putting our best player, not in the lineup, but think about that for the longevity of the season.
And Schwarber will help you feel more comfortable about taking the day off.
Well, and Schwarber protects
That's
him in
fair.
the lineup, depending on where you hit the guys. I mean,
He's batting
having
leadoff.
those guys. What?
He's batting leadoff. You do what worked in Philly.
Schwarber's
Whoa.
batting leadoff?
Oh, wow. This is a different conversation because I think you're right. That's where he was batting, but I don't think there's any way that Tito leads him off. Tito's batting him after.
We're gonna have TJ Friedel and Spencer Steer batting 1-2.
Yeah, I think so.
We really are.
So, yeah, I think that's right. I mean,
And then you're going to have Elly third and you're going to have Schwarber fourth.
yeah. I mean, let's have this discussion when we're, after.
Yeah, let's actually sign Schwarber first,
Yeah,
and then we'll
but
figure out
still,
where he goes.
I
in
think
the
that's
lineup.
what's going to happen there.
Speaking of Spencer Steer, Nick, Terry Francona talked about Spencer Steer. We're going to do a little bit of a lightning round because we don't need to spend a lot of time on these next couple topics, but want to get your guys' thoughts. Terry talking about Spencer Steer and how he hopes that he can have him available from the get-go, because obviously Steer struggled at the beginning of the year, but came on decently well over the course of the year. Really hoping that he can have Spencer Steer in 2026 with a rehabbed shoulder and a healthy Spencer Steer from day one.
Yeah, unfortunately, how he started the season last year was just, unfortunate for all sides. For Steer, because it made him look, I think, far worse than he actually was, and the Reds got zero production out of him. So I hope he's able to come back healthy and we're able to get the Steer we started to see at the end of the year, especially offensively, that was hitting left-handed pitching. And then when it comes to outfield, being willing, I mean, we saw with the improvement that he had at first base defensively that this is a guy that's willing to go out and work and can get better at things. So I think with an additional year where maybe it becomes a little bit more obvious, you're going to be playing in the outfield more, and you don't have to worry about the fact that you can't throw because your shoulder is messed up. I think we can get some serious value out of bringing Steer into the outfield, and then also being able to supplement if Sal Stewart is what our option is at first base.
Nick, anything?
Yeah. I think he's a platoon player.
Okay. Well, let's ask about the other infielder to Steer's right, Matt McLain. Terry Francona talked about him again on Monday as well. Said, I know I was stubborn with him early on. It's because I believed in him so much, and I still do. There's a really good player there. I think a year removed from that shoulder surgery, I think we'll see that player that I see in him. Thoughts on Matt McLain and his role in the Cincinnati Reds in 2026?
I think he's the second highest projected wins above replacement player on the team for a reason. I think he's got as good of a chance to be the Reds' second best player, hopefully third, as anyone on the roster. So yeah, I again, if you're putting your eggs in a basket, I'm taking my chances on Matt McLain because of the rest of his game, not just offensively. It's so much better than literally everyone on the team other than Elly.
Yeah, and I think also, obviously, signing somebody like Schwarber is going to help, but where we're going to be able to see a step forward with this team, I think, is some of these young guys are going to have to come around. We're going to need to see leaps from people like Noel V. Marte, but also people like Matt McLain and even Elly, if there's another level that he can go to. I think that one bat isn't going to completely solve everything. I think if we're able to raise the floor with some of these guys that we brought up and have contributed in some ways and have struggled in others. So I think that if the Reds are going to be successful this season, they're going to need to see some growth, and we can't have another season like what happened with McLain. There needs to be hopefully a bounce back all the way to what was happening in pre-injury, but at least, getting yourself to be a competent 6-7 hitter that plays great defense up the middle.
Yeah, as a reminder, Matt McLain turned down a contract extension before this past season, said it wasn't the right time for either party. Obviously, McLain coming off of an injury and not happy with his performance and didn't think that his value was as high as it could be. So this is a big year for Matt McLain. I do believe that, and could make or break kind of the future trajectory of his career. Another guy that is on the topic of people's brains is Sal Stewart. And Terry Francona talked about him this weekend after Freddie Benavidez went to Miami to work with Sal Stewart recently, specifically to work with Sal Stewart on his first base defense. Francona said, "We love the hitter. Where his game goes defensively, we're still trying to figure that out. I talked to him at length after the season about being agile. People talk about his weight. I don't want to talk about his weight." I'm on the record here. I think that Sal Stewart is your first baseman of the future. I know Nick's thoughts on Spencer Steer, so I guess I don't have to argue too much about that one, but is Sal Stewart a potential fit for your first base of the future?
Yeah, I think that's where you put him and you just don't mess with it. I think like for Sal Stewart to be an average second baseman is a uphill battle. And I just don't think it's worth it. I do think in some ways maybe people are putting a little bit too much pressure on Sal offensively going into 2026 that he doesn't have any growing pains or anything like that. But I still think, given this roster, he should have as much runway as anyone else to take the first base and run with it. So yeah, I just think you should put him at first base, and he should prove otherwise at this point. I just think he did enough last year throughout his entire season in the minors and when he got to the big leagues, and with a lineup that just lacked power so much. And this guy has legit bona fide power that seems like it's only getting better too. That's the thing, is this guy was not a power hitter a couple years ago. This is all something that's continuing to develop, and I don't know how high the ceiling is on his power, but I want to find out. I want him to play every single day at Great America Ballpark and not play a position. I also don't want him like wasting time working really, really hard at second base when he's probably not even going to end up there.
Yeah, and to me, these reports were exactly what I wanted to see. You know, I think we all agreed as we left last year, is just like, give this guy an offseason. Please work your butt off. Go do this. And to hear reports that Freddie Benavidez is going and meeting him, for the same Freddie Benavidez that turned Spencer Steer into a Gold Glove finalist at first base. You know, so I think that there is obviously it's different people and how you're dealing with this. But I think that there's a real shot that from all that we know about Sal Stewart, is this dude is a hard worker that's going to try to do that. And I just hope that the drive there and that athleticism is able to get him to be serviceable at first base. You know, somebody that is not just a complete hole. And wouldn't it be wild too if like he comes back, maybe not in one season, but in the next couple years, and he's just like really good at first base. He's just like, yeah, this is my thing now. I mash and I can play first base, and I just fill this gaping hole there hasn't been anything really good there since Joey Votto left with Sal Stewart. That would be awesome. So I'm really excited to see what he's able to do at first base. I'm really hoping that he's able to show improvement. It wasn't awful there. He did get defensively replaced. And maybe that's how it starts. You know, we see a lot of Spencer Steer in the 7th, 8th, 9th, which, you know, is unfortunate because then we lose Sal Stewart's bat. But, you know, I think there's a pathway here where we could see a lot good come out of this offseason for Sal Stewart.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The winter meetings are a time of trade talk and rumors, and this winter has been not short of rumors already for the Cincinnati Reds. Hunter Greene's name has come up a lot, Nick Lodolo's name, Brady Singer, amongst many others. So I'll ask you both now, if you had to put money on one Reds starting pitcher to be traded away during the winter meetings, who is it and what is it for?
It's a good question. I don't necessarily think they're for sure going to trade any of them. There was a lot of smoke on Greene early, and it's like it's died down, but it's almost like died down too much. If you follow this team, where the deals usually are, there's no smoke. Like Emilio Pagán, like there was no conversation about that. Greene now kind of reminds me a little bit of Singer last year. Do you guys remember when the India Singer rumor came out, and then Nick Martinez accepted the qualifying offer, and we said, well, the Reds aren't going to go get Brady Singer, right? Well, then like about 3-4 weeks later, they end up still getting Brady Singer. I'm not saying like Greene's for sure going to get traded or anything, but I would not buy any stock in the fact that it's quieted down, meaning anything at all. because I think that's how the Reds like to operate.
Yeah. My bet is on Singer, and not because I think I'm with you. I think it's actually most likely that all three of those guys stay, but it's just he commands the most salary. And I think that ultimately that may be at the end of the day what they're chasing the most is enough salary relief to bring in who they would want to, a Kyle Schwarber, right? So do I think it's going to happen? No, because I think the Reds also agree with Nick that you can't ever have too much pitching depth. We saw that time and time again. You know, the Singer India trade is an example of that, right? So I think that there is a, they understand that they need pitching depth to get to where they need to go, especially, with how this offense has performed. So it would have to be desperate times. And I think signing Schwarber maybe counts as desperate times, but it's just like, he would be my most likely to trade because he clears the most salary off the books.
It would just be so short-sighted of the Reds.
I know. I agree. I completely agree.
Kyle Schwarber to like not just pay Singer the $12 million and have him because can you just not see the scenario happening? You go get Schwarber and then you have the worst starting
Injury
pitching
luck.
health luck in 2026, and like the guy like Singer, who's your reliable guy, like you desperately need. It would be crazy to me. Like if you're going to go all in, go all in, I don't know.
I think that's the problem though. Is this really going all in? Is bringing a guy in Kyle Schwarber that
all it is the Reds are going to
all in is the Reds. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Versus, I mean, even the Pirates, like, I think that's what's interesting about this offseason. Like bringing Schwarber feels like the Reds going all in, and it could result in the Reds increasing their overall salary from last year by $15 to $20 million. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Pirates are already out there saying that they're going to increase their budget by $30+ million this year. And like neither one of them feel like they're going all in, but yet it feels like they're setting a better floor. And part of me wonders if this isn't trying to throw off the whole conversation around setting a salary cap or salary floor by saying, oh, look, we know we're making some changes to our payroll. We don't need the salary implications as part of the CPA. We're going to be better owners. Let's not hold up an entire season just because we didn't spend a lot of money. We'll spend some money. It's fine. Like we'll throw $30 million. We'll do it. It's fine. $100 million. Like that's going to be higher than the floor anyway. Let's just forget about that part. Pirates are doing their part.
Works. You see the worst in everything.
I think that's one of the biggest things on why we need Schwarber is just to melt Craig's Grinch heart. You know what I mean? Like it's just like he needs some holiday magic in his life to he's just can be happy.
I hope it grows 3 times. I hope it does.
We need to get you there on opening day, our correspondent from the stadium while we're doing a live show, and you're reacting.
I think I've shared this before, but I've never been to a Reds opening day.
Well, there'll be no better time than 2020.
I've also never been to a Reds fest, so yeah. Am I really a fan? You
said it.
The chat wonders sometimes.
All right, winter meetings are wrapping up on Wednesday, and with Wednesday comes the Rule 5 draft, gentlemen. The Reds will pick 17th on Wednesday. There's a number of names that are not even expected, that will be available if the Reds choose to use a pick. The Reds also have some guys that are available to be picked that could draw interest of other teams as well. Nick, let's start with just what do fans need to know about the Rule 5 draft and that process, and just if a player is drafted, what does that mean?
Well, if a player is drafted, then they have to stay on your roster for the entire next season, or you have to give them back. You have to pay, $30,000, I think is you pay $100,000. If you send them back, you end up paying $30,000. It's pretty rare that the Reds actually keep a Rule 5. It's been quite a while. I try not to go too far into these because I remember a few years ago, got like a whole show prepared, got a great guest to come on for. Who's the guy with the Giants? Is it Blake Sable that the Reds selected. I was like so prepared. I was writing all these notes, and then the Reds traded him like an hour later for cash. So that kind of has jaded me, Craig. You'll appreciate this. That has jaded me towards the Rule 5 draft and putting too much effort into that. But I see you mentioned Carlos Jorge. He's the kind of guy that maybe a team like the Colorado Rockies would take a flyer on. But at Colorado Rockies, it seems like they would have they're the pick of the litter, right? Don't they pick first, second?
The Rockies, they pick first, and then the White Sox, Nationals, Twins, and Pirates round out.
I just have a hard time believing Carlos Jorge is the number one choice for the Colorado Rockies, but that's the kind of team that it would make sense for. Maybe like the Twins, but I don't know. Probably arms, or probably more. Maybe a guy like Jose Acuna, who's not that far away from the big leagues, was in Louisville at one point last year, has some serious talent. Maybe a team takes a shot on a guy like him. That would probably be but I don't really have a whole lot of worries.
Yeah. The tough thing about this is that they have to stay on the active or the major league roster for the whole season if you want to keep them. And that for, the quality of players that are often available for the Rule 5 draft are not often people that would typically be available on that you keep on your roster all year long. And that's why the Rockies or the A's or somebody like that, they can stash somebody on there because their roster is not very good to start out with. So that's the only thing that it's just like, yeah, maybe. But even if Carlos Jorge gets taken, I just don't have a lot of faith that he's going to stick with a major league roster for the whole time. The Reds are just going to get him back. So
unless it's a tanking team, but the tanking team's picking first, that's going to find someone surely that's closer and more valuable. For the Reds perspective, my guess is if they do take a player, there's no guarantee they even take a player. There's been years where they've just passed. Mm-hmm. They probably look at a reliever. I just can't see the Reds trying to throw another position player into the mix unless it's, hey, we might actually trade Lux and Steer to be able to save money for Schwarber, and we want a guy that's protection, and that would be maybe the thinking for me. So it's either going to be like, hey, we want a guy just as protection or a reliever. That's probably what I would see the Reds doing. It would make sense for the Reds to get a good reliever with some real upside.
Yeah, a couple of names that are quote unquote generating buzz around the league in terms of available names for the Rule 5 draft. Blue Jays outfielder Yohendrick Pinago, Braves right-handed pitcher Blake Burkhalter, Red Sox righty Yordani Monegro, Marlins righty Zach McCambley, Angels pitcher Sammy Natera Jr. and Jared Southard, and Yankees reliever Harrison Cohen. So
finally one name at the end that was easy for you.
I know. But it's interesting that a significant portion of the names that are generating buzz are relievers and pitchers. And so certainly if the Reds are going to take somebody, it likely would be that. You mentioned former Reds Rule 5 draft picks, and the Reds' most successful Rule 5 draft
Stuart
pick
Turner
is not someone they actually took in the draft. Now, Josh Hamilton was left unprotected by the Tampa Bay Rays. He was selected 3rd overall by the Chicago Cubs and then immediately traded to the Reds for $100,000. And as we all know, Josh Hamilton went on to become a high quality player for the Reds and then on with the Texas Rangers as well. But the Reds paid at the time $50,000, which was the cost of the pick, and $50,000 for the rights to Josh Hamilton. So for those of you that are interested in kind of the value there, Josh Hamilton is by far the Reds' most successful Rule 5 pick, even though they weren't technically the team that made the Rule 5 pick. Some other names that were Rule 5 picks that saw success: Johan Santana was a Rule 5 draft pick. Shane Victorino, Joaquim Soria, and Dan Ugla, all Rule 5 picks.
His name is Dan
Ugla. And then Jose Bautista, R.A. Dickey, Ender Inciarte, and Mark Canha, all Rule 5 draft picks as well. So how about that? There are, for sure, diamonds in the rough to be found. But with that being said, I'll also share this little tidbit that if I can find it again. Last year, there were 3 players who were drafted, or 15 players were drafted, 3 of which actually stuck with the organization that drafted them. Shane Smith of the White Sox, Liam Hicks of the Marlins, and Angel Bastardo with the Blue Jays. Since 2012, 7 Rule 5 draft picks have gone on to amass 5 or more career B-WAR. So it's tough. It is tough, but those are Mark Canha, Odubel Herrera, Brad Keller, Anthony Santander was a Rule 5 draft pick, Ryan Presley, Garrett Whitlock, and Delino DeShields. So we'll keep an eye on it. And obviously, if the Reds make a pick or if they lose a player to the draft, we'll be sure to cover that as we always do. But I see Nick's brain churning, so I'll let him jump in.
I mean, we have to pour one out for Stuart Turner. I mean, an absolute legend of the Rule 5. Reds selected him in 2017 a catcher. He sticks as like a third catcher all year. Negative 1.2 B-WAR. The Reds actually get him all the way through, and he never plays in the big leagues. Like, he made it through a full season in the big leagues in the Rule 5. Then the Reds were able to send him to the minors, I think, the next year, and then he never played again.
See, I thought you were going to 2018, where they drafted Connor Joe. The Reds, Rule 5 Connor Joe, but then traded him to the Giants before he could even play. So
no, I mean, the Reds got this guy through a whole year. And then in 2018, he played a whole season in Louisville. 2019, played 28 games in Louisville, and then that was it. They stashed a guy just for minor league depth the whole year on the roster. And that was back when there was only 25 guys, too. We didn't have a 26-man, guys. And no DH. They had to pitch it for the pitchers. I mean, think about how crazy that was. Like, basically,
who are you talking about?
Wait, Stuart Turner. He was a catcher. Reds picked him up in the Rule 5 draft. He stayed on the roster the entire year. Like, literally, I mean, he got this fella got 82 at-bats on a roster the entire year. And the Reds were able to stash him. Because after you keep a guy a whole year, you're able to send him down to the minors if he still has options. And the Reds did that. He never played the big leagues again.
I wonder if he was a minor league Rule 5 guy.
No, he was a big league Rule 5 guy. They had to put him on the roster. That's the only reason why he was on the roster all year. It was like a talking point all year.
They drafted him in 2016. Okay, that's where I missed.
Well, December 2016 for 2017.
Yeah. Okay. So Mark Sheldon put out a article last week of every Rule 5 draft pick ever made by the Reds. So last year, Cooper Bowman. In 2024.
Legend.
In 2022, Pirates catcher Blake Sable. In 2019, A's outfielder Mark Payton, who was returned to Oakland on July 21st. In 2018,
the Reds got him back again later on. They signed him on a minor league. He played in the big leagues with the Reds.
Played in the big leagues in 2020. He went 3 for 18 in 8 games. In 2018, they drafted Dodgers catcher Connor Joe, who they then traded to the Giants in March. Appeared in 8 games for the Giants that year. 2017, D-backs right-handed pitcher Brad Keller, who they then traded to the Royals for cash immediately after the draft. In 2016, not only did they draft Twins catcher Stuart Turner, but they also drafted Yankees catcher Luis Torrens, who they immediately turned around and traded to the Twins. Turner batted 134 in 37 games for the Reds. In 2015, how about this? They drafted Yankees outfielder Jake Cave. They also drafted Angels left-handed pitcher Chris O'Grady. Cave was returned to the Yankees in April, spent the last 3 seasons with the Twins, and O'Grady was returned to the Angels.
Did Cave play for the Reds later on?
I don't remember him actually playing for the Reds. They returned him in April. I don't remember him ever coming back to the Reds.
He didn't.
Okay. I'll go quick on the rest of them because we're getting down the list and it's a long one. But Rockies right-handed pitcher David Patton, Braves right-handed pitcher Sergio Valenzuela, and then we get to 2006, Josh Hamilton and Jared Burton. Hamilton was actually picked by the Cubs and then traded to
Burton
Cincinnati.
Too?
Yeah,
that was a hell of a year, man.
Yep. And then Burton was a quality reliever for the Reds for 5 seasons, had a 3.41 ERA and 164 appearances.
Setup guy at one point. He was big time.
Spent his final 3 years with the Twins. In 2003, Mets right-handed pitcher DJ Maddox spent the season on the 60-day IL after going Tommy John. 2002, Red Sox right-handed pitcher Jerome Gamble, Dodgers right-handed pitcher Luke Prokopek, and Cardinals right-handed pitcher Blake Williams, none of which played for the Reds. 1999, Adrian Burnside sold back to the Dodgers in March before he ever played for the Reds. Cardinals right-handed pitcher in 1997, Keith Glauber, had a 3.0 ERA in 7 games for the Reds from 98 to 2000. In 1996, they drafted left-handed pitcher No Nahara from Cleveland and then sold him back in March of 97. In 93, Adam Heisdu from the Giants and then sold him back to the Giants, who then immediately traded back to the Reds in March of 94. Batted .229 over 7 big league seasons, but never for Cincinnati. And then in 1992, they drafted Indians outfielder William Canate or something, I don't know, who they traded to the Blue Jays in April of the following year for cash considerations. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your history of the Cincinnati Reds for Rule 5 draft.
You know, Mark Sheldon just said, I'm not writing another Schwarber story. I'm going to write this. And he's got to be so happy that you just went all the way through this whole list. I mean, it's got to be beaming.
What did we learn? He
Jen? Writes this story every year, actually. He just writes
he probably does.
Story and he just adds whatever the next year's on there. So he did the research at one point, and then he just adds another guy. And that's my thought.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. This has been fun. Anything that we didn't talk about that you guys wanted to talk about?
No.
Anything from the chat that I didn't get to? Putrid Talent, appreciate you as always. Member for 7 months. If you aren't already, make sure you join as a member of Nutcutter Nation here on YouTube. At the very minimum, like the stream, subscribe to the channel, follow us on social media, but we would certainly appreciate your membership as well. And we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Putrid Talent said, happy off season, happy holidays to all y'all. Thank you for the content this winter. Speaking on behalf of everyone, we really appreciate you. No Putrid Talent. We appreciate you. Nick, I've said it already, but a lot coming up on YouTube. Make sure you joining and subscribing. What's on deck for Chatterbox Sports?
There's just an article that came out from Gordon Whitmire.
Oh, my God.
Barry Larkin wants a chance to recruit Kyle Schwarber. Hasn't got a chance yet, but I want to talk to him. I want to recruit his ass. I mean, this is the exact quote. I want to recruit his ass.
Oh, my God.
The rest of it is behind a paywall, but I'm glad that they let that part go through.
Where was this article?
Gordon Whitmire.
We got lots of other great content here on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. There's going to be a brand new episode of Chatterbox Bearcats, I know, coming out here, I think tomorrow. Those guys are licking their wounds after a tough defeat to the Xavier Musketeers. They just did it again. Can you believe it? The poor guys, they're going to talk. They're taking voicemails now. I don't have the number, but Nick Niehaus tweeted it out, so find that. Of course, Off the Bench, Stone Shield Show, 10 and 11 a.m., Monday through Friday. Lots of Chatterbox Bengals content. You guys put out a show earlier today about the Jermaine Burton news. We got the Flying Lion podcast, all things FC Cincinnati, all kinds of stuff here. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Click around.
Reds make pitch. Wait on Kyle Schwarber's call. Yeah. On the first day of MLB Winter Meetings, Cincinnati manager Terry Francona wouldn't say whether he's talked to Kyle Schwarber about signing with the Reds, and team president Nick Kroll said he won't talk about anything related to any offers he might have made.
And let's be clear, they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to discuss conversations with free agents. Like that's in the CBA. So, like the Colorado Rockies aren't allowed to say, "Yeah, we didn't talk to Kyle Schwarber." They have to be neutral, because you don't want one team saying, "No, we didn't talk to him," because the players don't want that, which makes sense. So, I see people all the time going, "Well, I'd ask a tougher question to Nick Kroll." Like, no, he can't answer it. So, you're asking him a question he's not allowed to answer.
Well, Nick, I know you'll be excited to hear this article about Barry Larkin is not very long. So I'll give you the one other quote from Barry from this article. Quote, his addition to the team right now would be amazing. Amazing.
Hell yeah, Barry.
End of quote.
That one on a
Barry
quote
gets
card.
it. Barry gets it.
Put that one on a quote card.
I want to try to recruit his ass. I think I might put that up as a graphic on Facebook, boys.
I think we have to. I think it's a requirement. I don't think you even have a choice.
As long as there's also a picture of his backside with it.
It's time to shut up shop here.
I was gonna pull up the Nick Kroll Cincinnati Reds make pitch, wait on Kyle Schwarber's call, but just to see if there's like a timeline or anything, but I'm sure there's not. But if you guys want to wait,
last day for t-shirts.
T-shirts.
Chatterboxsports.com/store. 2 for the price of one, 2 for $40, not the price of one. 2 for $40 with promo code double. It's pinned on Chatterbox on Twitter if you want to find it. But yeah, tomorrow's the last day of the sale. Those will be shipped out, I believe, on the 12th, hopefully in time for the holidays.
Absolutely. And as always, Chatterbox Sports is your home for all the latest in breaking news, whether it's Cincinnati Reds, UC Bearcats, Cincinnati Bengals, FC Cincinnati. We've got you covered from top to bottom. And we'll be here with live breaking news anytime it happens. So if something happens with Schwarber, you better believe we'll be live as soon as we can. Nick may be holding a baby while it happens, but trust me, he'll be on the stream if it does. So we look forward to that day, and we look forward to forcing Nick Kirby to be on stream with the kids. But until that day happens, we'll just have to sit here and hold our breath. But for Nick Kirby, for Mike Hart, I'm Craig Sandlin. This has been Chatterbox Reds. We appreciate you all tuning in. Clearly, the end of the show has come. We'll see you next time, everybody. Go Reds.